Why I tell my landlords to put all forms of payment that the landlord accepts on their 3-day notices to pay rent or quit. Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord Warrior on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe to our videos. Now, I recently came across a case. I was at a hearing, and there was another landlord presenting their case in court, and the landlord's case got dismissed. One of the reasons why the court or the judge dismissed the case of the landlord in this case was the tenant they had established an electronic form of payment and that type of deal. And the 3-day notice only advised the tenant to go pay the rent at the landlord's office location, which was several counties away from where the rental address was at. Let's just call it was like 60 miles or something like that. I don't quite remember, but it was one of the reasons why the judge said the case was going to be dismissed. Among other issues was the equitable issue of, well, you didn't accept previous electronic forms of transfers, and the judge kind of went on about, part of the deal of this is, in equity, you got to let the tenant pay in pretty much all forms that the landlord's accepted, okay? And I've always been of that opinion as well, too, okay? In the sense of, if the parties have an electronic forms procedure or they can deposit money into the landlord's bank account, let's let them know that on the 3-day notice, okay? The law at the minimum requires that the landlord lists their name, address, telephone number, and if rent can be delivered in person, the usual days and hours that the tenant can go drop off that rent payment, okay? In my practice, I've had a number of landlords go, well, can I restrict the hours that I'm available? Do I have to list, they can pay by Zelle, Venmo, etc. Even though I accept it, it's in the lease agreement and so forth. And I go, listen, landlord, the name of the game is you want to show a judge or court, or jury for that matter, that you advise the tenant of all the things you need to do as required by law in the Code of Civil Procedure, okay? And in the Code of Civil Procedure, there are options that if you do accept electronic forms of payment, you can spell that out. Hey, tenant, you can go deposit the money via a pre-established electronic funds transfer by Zelle, Venmo, whatever form of payment, electronic payments that you've used. If it's ACH transfer, just advise the tenant. You can do it by the ACH transfer procedure, which is just basically a direct deposit into the landlord's account. If you've allowed tenants to deposit rent into the bank account, the law says you can advise the tenant of the bank branch located within 5 miles of the property address. You list the account number, you list the address of the bank, and the name of the bank where you have to go to deposit the money. I've been in the position, you want to just show the court that you made it every form of payment possible that you'll accept to just cure this notice, because it's a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit, meaning you have 3 days to pay the rent that's owed, or you got to move out, okay? And if you don't do that, then you're subject to eviction and termination of your tenancy for cause for non-payment of rent, okay? You got to basically leave the methods of payment open, because no one wants to be in eviction court and you're trying to evict the tenant, forfeit their lease, or hey, get them thrown out, basically. When you didn't give them all opportunities to pay, okay? This is, there's a principle of fairness or equity, basically, in these cases here. So you got to follow the rules, and I'm all the position of give all the opportunities available to cure that notice, okay? Because I don't want to go to court. I don't want to spend 7 to 12 weeks in court paying a lawyer like me, some guy like me, to just, hey, where the tenant actually could have paid, basically. So those are my thoughts. You don't want your case getting thrown out on some technicality like that, and you want to just show the court that, hey, they just didn't do what they were supposed to do, so you're subject to eviction. So those are my thoughts. Landlords, if you're in the Northern California area and you're dealing with a non-payment of rent situation and you need help with an eviction, feel free to reach out. We're here to help out. Put your comments, questions down below. Try to answer them to the best of my ability. Until next time, folks, talk to you then. See ya.